Freedom House, a non-governmental organization that tracks human rights, currently rates Saudi Arabia as not free. This means that human rights are being taken away from certain Saudi Arabian citizens. The freedom of life, liberty, and belief is taken away from migrant workers, Shiite Muslims, and most strongly from the Saudi woman. Women are forced by law to wear modest clothing, which means they are required to cover their arms and legs as well as their hair. The government believes that their appearance has a major impact on the country's reputation. Women are also banned from appearing on television and other medias. Their lives are being restricted in other ways, such as not being able to open a bank account without their husband's permission, go anywhere without a male chaperone, or vote in government elections. They are even punished for driving their own car, an act that is illegal for Saudi women. In efforts to stand up for themselves and others, some women in southern provinces have started to drive on their own regardless. Rosa Begum from the Human Rights Watch says that women in Saudi Arabia are highly educated and they don't want to be left in the dark. Recently, women have been able to vote in small elections, however, their actions are still very limited. There are two major branches of Islam, Sunni and Shiite. They hold controversial views on who should have succeeded Muhammad after his death in the year 632. Their feud has been going on till this day. An estimated 15% of the country's Muslims are Shiite. However, Saudi Arabia is ruled by an ultra-conservative Sunni ideology. Because of this, Shiite Muslims face great discrimination because of their beliefs. Other non-Islamic groups also face discrimination. Millions of migrant workers in Saudi Arabia also face abuse and lack many legal rights. 250,000 were deported last year by the Saudi government in just 3 months. Punishments such as beheading, lashes, and imprisonment are also used on victims publicly. The freedom of expression is also taken away from journalists, bloggers, and reporters. Corporal punishment are used in Saudi Arabia, which includes amputation of limbs, beheading, and lashes. These are all performed publicly. There are around 79 executions in 2013, which is more than double the number in the United States that same year. Human rights activist groups such as Saudi Civil and Political Rights Association are doing all they can to help expand human rights. However, this is very difficult under the ruling of the strict government. Local activists are using the power of social media such as Twitter and Facebook to spread awareness about human rights in Saudi Arabia. The Saudi state was brought up in 1932. It was established as an absolute monarchy and is still strongly influenced by the Sunni Islamic beliefs. A lack of checks and balances and the strict use of Islam law both have a very negative impact on the human rights in Saudi Arabia. The government does not tolerate public worship by any other religious groups other than the Islam authorities. This is why Shiite Muslims face discrimination. They also forbid numerous political and human rights associations. Certain groups and advocates have faced harsh punishment. Saudi Arabians are continuing to openly discuss the recent government affairs on social medias. Some topics include the prohibiting of women driving and migrant workers. In 2011, the government banned peaceful public protests and strengthened press laws, and arrested large amounts of peaceful rights advocates and protesters. The Saudi government is still remaining strict to this day, and little adjustments have been made, which now enable women to vote in small elections. Political police in Saudi Arabia strictly ensure that women dress modestly and are covered at all times. Their jobs are to ensure that men and women do not mix socially. The criticism of these political police have been rising due to social medias. The Saudi government has done little to nothing to curb the freedom of life, liberty, and belief in Saudi Arabia. In modern-day Saudi Arabia, citizens are starting to fight back and expand the restrictions on human rights. Sheikh Mukhlif is one example of a human rights and social media activist who uses technology to help expand human rights. Places such as Facebook and Twitter are used by Saudi citizens to express themselves and talk freely about their current beliefs about human rights, since Saudi Arabia is a closed-off country. Instead of using your Facebook to like your best friend's new profile picture, what if you could use it to help free a human rights activist from prison? This is the story of Samar Badawi, a human rights activist who previously imprisoned. A Twitter campaign was made by her husband and lawyer that went viral and played as a strong reason why she was released without any charges. Others shared their thoughts and spread awareness through the use of technology, which has helped stand up for their human rights. Other parts of the world have started cutting off connections because of the human rights conditions in Saudi Arabia. Due to the rising concerns over human rights issues, Sweden announced that they would not renew a military cooperation agreement with Saudi Arabia. The United States has also cut off business agreements regarding oil because of the impending and worsening human rights conditions. Although many organizations have been punished for their peaceful activism, there still have been some minor changes regarding human rights. With the increasing numbers of activists, changes have happened and human rights have been slightly expanded. In 2012, in the London Summer Olympics, the first Saudi woman participated in an official sporting event. Women are now allowed to vote in small elections. Getting educated and spreading awareness by creating human rights activist groups and writing to the Saudi government can all help in expanding human rights. By spreading awareness and getting the people educated, more people will be motivated to help. The stories of these victims will be shared, and people all across the world will be striving to help. Through the use of technology and social medias, human rights can be a subject that is greatly discussed and talked about. This can all have effects on expanding the human rights of the Saudi people. Activist groups can make a long-term difference for women and other discriminated groups in Saudi Arabia. If many people write and petition to the government, there is a small chance that things may change. If a well-known human rights activist runs for a position in the government, throughout the course of time, things may be able to change. Ideas can be implemented, and with the right leader, human rights can be expanded in Saudi Arabia.